Okay, so October is famous for a couple things, but one in particular that we are welcoming our guest on this edition of Bull in the Basement for. And by the way, Bull in the Basement's idea, when sort of there's no such thing as a mission statement for it, but if there were, it was people that have impacted one way or another Western New York, whether they live here now, whether they're expats, whether they're just rolling through town, somehow they impact Western New York. Well, the Lesikowskis have impacted Western New York to the tune of nearly $5 million over the last 4 years through their 11-day power play. And Amy Lesakowski joins me now. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So nice always to me, and so generous to the Western New York community through 11-day power play. But the 11-day power play aim was developed largely in part because of what you went through personally, and Mike's mom as well, which we'll get to in a second. But first of all, welcome. I understand you're in a new dwelling that you happen to be squatting in for the episode this morning.
Yes, we're in the mountains here in Ellicottville. It's our, quiet, peaceful escape from Buffalo at times. So we're real excited to be with you this morning, and you can see some of the fall leaves are still there. So it's a pretty view.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into this, and we'll get into the 11-day power play in a little bit. And I'm convinced that if you weren't as well liked and respected as you are, the 11-day power play never would have gone off. But because you are so well networked and connected and in the right spaces and have done the right things, it has been a smash hit. So we'll get to that in a little bit. So October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And oh, by the way, the jersey, and I'm wearing my 11-day power play jersey, as you can tell, just happens to have the ribbon right there, right?
Always, yeah.
So talk through this a little bit with us in terms of your fight and battle with breast cancer. Originally, what it was like when you first heard and found out, what the emotions were like. I mean, I know at this point you're a little bit distanced from it, so it's probably a little bit easier to talk about it. Probably wasn't that way years ago, but talk us through what it was like when you heard about it, your emotions, and was it something that was symptomatic, or did you find out simply because of a test?
Well, I found out we were actually at a black tie event one night with a group of friends, and I had this dress on where you could see the top part of my chest, and there was a lump, and I kind of felt it and asked a friend who had experience with cancer. She had lymphoma when she was a teenager, and she felt it, and she said, "You have to run to the doctor on Monday." This was a Saturday. So on Monday, I called the doctor right away, and, I was kind of like, it's not going to happen to me. So, I didn't go running to the doctor, but I made an appointment. I got there, they did a biopsy. Doctor didn't like the look of it, the feel of it. They eventually did the biopsy, and it came back that it was cancer. And, it's just something that you don't expect to hear. As I'm getting older, I'm hearing about it more and more, especially breast cancer, because after 40, it's, a significant number of women get diagnosed. I was 35 at the time, so I just didn't think it would happen to me. So the call to my husband that day was, a little strange. Can you come and pick me up? I don't think I can drive my car. And we went to pick up our son, Liam, at daycare. And, I had a hard time looking at my kids and, just, looking at the future, like, am I going to be here for them when they grow up? And it was scary. And just not knowing what stage, and that whole process of, once you're diagnosed, it takes really weeks and months to figure out what stage you are. So that whole process was something that nobody I knew went through. But I was fortunately connected with, really close friends still today, that were diagnosed around the same time as me. And, we're all doing really well. There's been so much success, and all the treatments that have been, new day after day, they're just finding out more and more. But with my type of breast cancer, it was a very aggressive form. It was something that, the year prior to me, my chances of survival were very slim. And because of a new drug that was just found called Herceptin, went through a clinical trial. Women for years and years and years were on it, and it just went through standard treatment. It became standard treatment for me. And just a year prior, they didn't even have it as standard treatment. So without that immunotherapy that I had along with my chemotherapy, I'm convinced to this day that I'm here because of that. because of the brave women that went through that trial and because of the trial itself. So we're huge proponents of immunotherapy and clinical trials. And that's why the 11-day started, because we know how important, that is to our community. And people come from all over the world to Roswell Park. It's not just Western New York. When I worked there at one point, I had people flying in from different countries for the treatments that are going on right here in our backyard. So we're here to support it, and we're clearly not going away. So here we are in 2021 and looking forward to another event.
Yeah, you're an incredible, strong woman. And obviously what you went through was and I'm going to ask you about Liam in a little bit, because he was a toddler led and he's a grown up now, man. He has done some great things. I had an opportunity to actually play with him last 11-day power play when it was on our feet, because I can't skate a lick. And we played floor hockey instead of ice because of COVID. And I'll get to that coming up in a little bit. So obviously with breast cancer, you hear mammogram, right? And if you're a guy, I'm assuming you're going to tell me and every guy watching this to go tell your wife, your mom, your sister, your daughter, whoever, and again, with the mammogram, talk a little bit about the background of for people that don't know what it is, what you go through, and ultimately, what age group ideally should you be in to get maybe your first one, or should you continuously have one?
Well, they recommend, I'm not a clinician, but they do recommend anybody over age 40. 40 should be your first mammo. I'm not in agreement with that because I had breast cancer at 35. So I guess what I would say to people is always watch your body. Look for changes. Do self-exams, and just be aware, because you can't ignore those changes and end up waiting for a mammogram when you're 40. If I did that, I wouldn't be here today. So I guess that would be my recommendation. Mammograms are so, simple. A lot of women are afraid of it. We all get busy. The important thing is making sure that you get an annual one, because it's pretty amazing how things can change in 1 year. And that's why a yearly mammogram is recommended.
For sure. Amy Lesikowski is with us. If you don't know her face or her name, she and her husband are responsible for the 11-day power play, largely in part because Amy is a breast cancer survivor through Roswell. And sadly, Mike's mom had cancer, but unfortunately lost her battle. But the two of those stories combined really were sort of the impetus to get you guys going with this 11-day power play thing, knowing Mike was a hockey player growing up. He had friends that were hockey players. Hockey, as most people know in Western New York, is a fraternity or a sorority, certainly if women are playing. And that's kind of a unique thing with the 11-day power play this year, which we'll get to in terms of some of the people that are going to be on the ice. But yeah, right. So those two events, basically, which were, heartbreaking and full of heartache for both you and he, for both reasons, obviously. Not only did you guys, through the 11-day power play, sort of mend your and your immediate family and friend situation, but you went beyond that. You went to preach advocacy. You went to preach education. You went to preach research. And that's what's so beautiful about the 11-day power play. So again, that's sort of the what got this whole thing started, right?
It did. And for us, it really gives people in the community an avenue to remember and honor, and to support people currently battling. And that's what we're most proud of is, obviously the fundraising dollars are so important, but raising awareness and allowing a place, an event where people can come and really pay tribute to those who've battled in the past.
So 4 years ago, and this is what's cool for me, because it was on my 50th birthday that night one of the inaugural 11-day power play started. 40 guys, 250-ish hours, right? Straight playing hockey. Yeah. You set the global record. These guys were skating, obviously, in shifts of, depended on sort of their health, right? I mean, if guys were kind of nicked up, other guys would fill, but anywhere from 4 to 8 hour shifts, right?
Yep, 2 4-hour shifts per day. Sometimes they were longer when we did have some players that weren't able to play. People had to jump in and fill those shifts. So yeah, we did it in 2017. It was pretty incredible, and that was the start of the 11-day power play, and we weren't going to stop after that.
And the remarkable thing too about those players, and again, we're going to expand on the 11-day power play throughout this episode. is that these were not elite athletes, right? These were guys who were just regular guys who might have played, beer league hockey a couple nights a week. For them to accomplish what they did and the physical task that it was and the toll it took on their bodies, some of whom are still feeling 4 years later physical effects from doing it, it is even the more remarkable because they did it for most of them, I'm assuming, someone else, right? Whether it was someone they knew personally, someone they were an acquaintance for, or if that wasn't the case, just to do it because they know the effect that cancer has on so many people.
Yes, I mean, we call them our original 40. They were the original ones that started this event in 2017, and they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, and they were brave enough to join us. And we knew a good, 60% of them we personally knew, and then we had to recruit people we didn't know through interviews, and we certainly were really happy with how 2017 worked, and 22 of them are coming back in 2021.
And here's the other thing go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it couldn't have been so bad if they reapplied, right?
Right. 100%. And the interesting thing was, it was in watching it and paying attention to it through those 11 days. It was, it was a grind for sure. I think these guys came out of the chute and they were fired up. They're ready to go. But man, you get to day 6, 7, 8, they are really grinding. You get to days 9 and 10, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But these guys ate, drank, slept, skated, all on premise at the time at the Harbor Center, and eventually got through it. And the interesting thing too is, yeah, it was somewhat competitive, but in the end, the score didn't matter. It was more about being out there and doing what they did.
Absolutely. And ironically, the score was within like 20 points of each other, which was really bizarre because we didn't pick the teams based on their talent. We took the teams based on, just making sure we were trying to even up the best we could. And the fact that it was that close and we didn't know half the team very well was pretty incredible.
Tell folks, if they don't know, the 11-Day Power Play's background in terms of the world record you guys broke. The world record for longest hockey game was in Edmonton. Is that right?
Alberta, yeah. And that year we were breaking their record, and they've broken it since then. So that's why we're coming back in 2021.
Heck yeah. So what's the current record that you look to break this year?
252 hours.
Okay.
And out of respect for the event, people always ask me this, why didn't you blow it by like 5 hours? And we're like, that's not the point of this. We're great friends with our friends in Alberta, and Brett Stake and friends are people that we talk to on a regular basis that currently hold the record, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come here in November to root our team on, because that's just the way they are, and we will do the same once we're allowed back in Canada. I
was going to ask you, with the border opening, we think November 1, do you guys have something to do with that? Letting Canadians come in so those guys could come to your 11-day?
I wish I could say that, but I don't think we have that much pull here in Buffalo. Yeah, so I just said to Mike this morning, do you think Brent will come? And he said, I absolutely do think he will. And a lot of people would think that we'd be competitive and we wouldn't want them breaking our record and vice versa. And it's just not that way. They're raising money for cancer, and so are we. And hopefully together we can find a cure.
This year's is, in terms of the format and the place and all of that, getting to sort of like when, where it's for people that have been and attended and supported in prior years, it's different this year, right?
It is. Last year we ended up moving the event outside because at that time guidelines were requiring us to do that. And we turned it into street hockey, and you yourself had your debut with the 11-Day Power Play finally and did an awesome job. And since then, we just really knew that, if we move it back inside during a pandemic, it could endanger, our players and our spectators. And we thought, let's plan it outside and hope to get back to Harbor Center at some point in the future. But we also felt the need to break a world record outside in the elements as Alberta does. So that was also part of the reason why we moved the event outside.
So outside is Riverworks.
Yep. So Buffalo Riverworks, we will be there November 14th. We drop the puck at 6 a.m. and we break the record at 6 p.m. on the 24th, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I think everyone knows that that's a pretty exciting night to break a world record here in Buffalo.
Yeah, because when that happens, I'm assuming the party will be like none other.
I think so. If we can still stand up and our players are still functioning, I think we will be at Riverworks for quite a while that night. And who knows where we'll end up, but we'll be happy that we are, through the event and hopefully get that world record.
So we're talking the 11-day power play with Amy Lesakowski. So let's talk a little bit about COVID. Obviously, it set a lot of not-for-profits and charity organizations back. You guys had to change it up, obviously, last year. And this year, in terms of COVID protocol, what are you finding that you're facing for your players going in and throughout the 11 days?
We've always been in constant communication with our events with, Erie County, and just making sure that we're following guidelines. And we have an event manager who's, up on what's required. And, with the 40 people living, inside Riverworks together, we did ask them to be vaccinated to participate. And, they all are at this point. And we will have precautions in place to, attempt to keep them as safe as possible. On the other ice adjacent to the world record game, we have 40 teams coming in and out. We will have COVID precautions in place. We do not require vaccines to participate, but we will have COVID protocols in place to try to keep everybody as safe as possible. And with last year, it was successful, and we hope for it to be successful this year too.
And Aim, this is super cool because you've this year combined what you did last year with what the original was, right? So you have the original, which is the attempt to break the world record with the 40 folks that are going to do it. And then on that other sheet, you have the community shift, which you employed and developed a year or two ago. That's super cool that you do now both simultaneously.
Yeah, we thought, why not get as many people as we can involved? So we couldn't have a full-fledged community shift with, we were supposed to have 2,600 participants in 2020. We'll have 1,000 40-team invitational players playing in the event. And they've gotten us to that 1.39 that we're at today. And they're adding extra motivation for our world record players on the ice next to them by just being there and cheering them on as well. And they're doing their 3-hour shift and raising money with us. So we're really excited to have them this year too.
Yeah, that's super cool. And the interesting thing too about the 11-day 40 is that they're actually going through training together like they never did. Like they didn't do this in 2017 that I recall, where they did like this extensive group training that this year they've been doing for the last couple of months, right? Leading up to puck drop in November.
They have been training since January. They've started group training with Excelsior Orthopedics, which is, by the way, our presenting sponsor in 2021. They're with us again to make sure that our players are in shape and taken care of throughout the event. So 3 days a week, they work out together as a group, and that's off ice. And then they're on the ice all the time. I mean, we don't have to encourage that. These are hockey players that love hockey. And every time I turn around, somebody's on the ice somewhere. But they do the 6 hours and the 8-hour skates that we've had, monthly since about May. So they're really prepared, I think, more than the first year. I don't think we could be more prepared physically. Had a lot of weight loss, which is exciting, and a lot of them. We'll be showing some before and after pictures during the event to kind of get people excited and rally around them.
It's 11DayPowerPlay.com, obviously, and RoswellPark.org if you want to, because we're touching obviously the two subjects here in our discussion with Amy. So for people to volunteer, to donate, just go to the website.
Yes, so 11DayPowerPlay.com. Everything that you need is there. We have, we're recruiting currently for volunteers. We're almost full with that schedule. So if you're interested, please visit it. And then of course we'll see you there.
Thank you.
And we'll have our donate button. We always have our donate button right on the homepage. So help us get to our new $2 million goal in 2021.
I was wondering, he's not playing hockey right now. Have you guys tried to recruit Eichel to maybe take a couple shifts, just throw him in there and maybe put him in disguise or something?
That's not a bad idea.
Right?
Eichel, oh gosh, our first community shift, he actually reached out and wanted to participate. And I think the group felt it was safer for him not to participate.
Yeah.
Playing against, regular people in the community. We wouldn't want him to get hurt.
Right. And you got to get Josh Allen on skates. I don't know if he's ever been on skates, if he's ever played hockey in his life, but it'd be fun to get 17 out there for the 11-day.
I think we need to throw a tweet out there and get Josh Allen on the ice for sure. Yeah.
Right. What about, because it's the 11-day, have you guys reached out to Perreault at all to have him do anything? Has he worked with you guys at all? Obviously he's the most famous, arguably number 11 in this town ever. It would seem like he'd be a good fit.
We haven't reached out to him. We have a lot of Sabres alumni that participate. They play our last closing shift against our top fundraising teams. I think it's always been in the back of our mind to reach out to him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do that soon.
I've watched Mike Pekka, former Sabre captain, play in some of these games, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair. These guys are natural competitors. You would expect them to, back off a little bit, but because they're such natural competitors, man, even at like 65, 70%, they just were skating through. He's skating through four guys and it just wasn't fair. But whatever. Have you gotten celebrities to reach out to you guys and be part of this one way or the other, whether it's, skating or donating or volunteering or just spreading the word?
The Sabres alumni, like Pat Kletta, is a huge part of our event. We've had Rob Ray. We've had Ellis play. We've had a handful of the Sabres alumni, reach out and show up to play, which is awesome. But no, I think Buffalo in itself, like our community is, the important participants. And do we need celebrities? It would be great. But we've got a lot of our own celebrities. I think our community is full of them. So
100%. Absolutely. I meant to ask you, and you mentioned Liam earlier. So your son Liam has become a pretty darn good hockey player. Tell the folks about his hockey journey and what he's doing now.
Well, Liam started playing hockey when he was 4. We got him on skates and he started his career at West Seneca Wings. Played there for a few years. And then when the Junior Sabres started their first youth team at age 10, he tried out and he made the team with a few of his friends that were also on West Seneca's team. And he played there for 6 years. Made a tough decision his junior year in high school to go to Connecticut and play for Salisbury prep school hockey. We just felt it was kind of time for him to try that out. And he did really well in his split season team, Rochester Coalition, that he played with. If people don't know, split season with prep, you have your prep winter season, and then spring and fall are your split season. So his spring and fall team was composed of kids from all these different prep schools. And they actually won a national championship last June or May. And that was so exciting. And, as far as hockey goes, he's a kid that I think every kid out there who plays hockey just loves it. And he was drafted in the USHL this year and, went to try out, went to the main camp, and coach said, he had a good chance of making the roster, which we were pretty, we've always had confidence in him, but it's, pretty surreal when your kid's 17 and about to go play in the USHL. And he had his debut in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago and had a great start of the season with every NHL, scout there. And it was pretty cool to see him playing at that level. But unfortunately, he has mono right now. So yeah, I couldn't believe it. So a few days after his debut, he got sick. And not only did he have mono, he had strep throat on top of it. So to all the hockey boys out there, you got to take care of your health, because if you don't have that, you can't play.
100%.
But he's got about a week or two more of recovery, and he'll be back out there.
Well, I got to say, in terms of the 11-day power play, you mentioned that I got out there and played floor hockey last year. I scored my only goal I've ever scored ever in any type of competitive hockey ever, because we were getting blown out in the game we were in. And we were really shorthanded in terms of our roster. So the guys are like, hey, you want to play up front? Because I was playing defense because I'm just not a hockey guy. I love hockey. I wish I'd played it growing up. I never did. So I'm like, all right, I'm old. I'm in my 50s. I'm really not in good shape. I'll just sit back. I'll block some shots. I'll do whatever, I'll be the gritty lunch bucket guy that everybody loves in Buffalo. I'll be that guy. I'll throw my weight around and just clear the puck out, and I'll do that all game long. That's fine. Clearly I didn't do a good job because they scored a lot of goals on us when I was out there. But they're like, hey, go play. There's a couple minutes left in the game. Go play up front. Okay. So of course, idiot me. And we're wearing a jersey and shorts and no pads, no shin guards, no anything. So we're getting hit and those balls hurt when you get hit by them and whatever. And of course, the shot comes in, it's coming right at me, and I kind of move out of the way because I'm trying to screen the goalie. It hits the goalie, drops right in front of me, and I tap it in. I mean, it's all complete luck. I didn't mean that to happen. It just did. But it was great. And I had a chance to help coach with Danny Gare for a couple of years, the team in some exhibition games, and that was a blast as well. It is so much fun. The guys are super cool. And oh, by the way, and I mentioned this earlier that I wanted to get to, can you talk a little bit about this year's diversity in terms of the 40 people playing in the 11-day power play?
Of course. So in 2017, when we first opened up the applications to play, we had a hard time finding women to apply. And we just couldn't get a woman to play, which for me as an athlete and a woman, I was really frustrated. And I've said ever since, we got to do our best to, recruit some women. So this year we do have 2 women, Kristen and Morgan, playing they're on the roster. They've been training with everyone since the start of this thing. And we have an alternate too, Liz Canfield, who's also, at some point may make the roster depending on how things pan out leading up to the puck drop. But really, really cool to have them a part of the event. And really just, there's kids in the community, there's little girls in the community that are playing hockey, and so excited to see them. So we're excited to have them. They're awesome.
Yeah, 100%. So 11-day power play benefits 4 terrific local charities. Give them a mention and certainly what they mean to you guys.
So of course, our primary beneficiary is Roswell Parks. We really want to find a cure for cancer, and the research they do is incredible. We have Camp Good Days of Western New York, which we were able to visit this summer, which amazing work that they do with families battling cancer. And Make-A-Wish Western New York, which we've had the ability to see a wish this summer as well with our team. Really incredible to see those wishes be granted to local families battling. And then just recently, this past year, we've added Children's Hospital, Oshai Children's Hospital, the collaboration between Roswell Park and Oshai with their blood cancers disorders program. Really just trying to support agencies here that take care of our families here in Western New York.
And I tell you what, I've lived here for just over 20 years. And when I moved here, it didn't exist. But what an amazing thing to be incredibly proud of Western New York in terms of the medical corridor, right? Downtown.
Yeah, I mean, why not support it? It's right here. I've needed care here. I have friends and family that have needed care here. And, we don't want to have to go anywhere else when we have it right here in our backyard. And we're just excited to be able to support them.
100%. So November 14th is the kickoff for the 11-day power play at Riverworks. Volunteer, donate, spectate, support. 11daypowerplay.com is a website to do that. RoswellPark.org, and obviously Camp Good Days, Oshai, and Make-A-Wish, they have their websites as well, which you can go to, and I'm sure they have information on the 11-day power play as well. It is awesome to be a part of. And finally, what are we at numbers wise that you've raised to this point since 2017? And what are we hoping to cap it at the end of 2021?
Well, we're at 1.39 today, which is amazing. We've never been that far into our fundraising before the start of an event. We surpassed 6 million. You had mentioned 5.2, which was the end of last year. We've surpassed 6 million, and I have no doubt we're going to hit 7 million by the end of this event.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's our community. It's the people that make the 11-day what it is. And we would just not be able to do what we do for the community without everyone's support and help.
Pretty interesting timeline too, if you think about it. So 2017 was your original 11-day power play. Right around that time was when the Bills broke the drought. And that's sort of, I gotta say, I mean, if we're gonna do a time capsule at all about the history of community giving in Western New York, I think it starts right around then. Because think about it, it was you guys with what you were doing, it was the Andy Dalton thing. And ever since, like everything everybody does has some sort of charitable backing to it, right? Whether it's, 26 shirts or the Patricia Allen Fund or any of those. And then obviously what you guys are doing, it's remarkable, the City of Good Neighbors, how they've taken that mantra to an incredibly different level just in the last 5 years. It's awesome.
It really is. I mean, people often say to us, are you going to take the 11-day to a different city? And, you really should share it. And, we do have things in the works, but when you think about what our city of Buffalo does for the community, is it possible to be successful in another city? I hope so. I have a lot of, obviously love for our city, and it would be great to be able to share that, but this is truly an amazing place. So.
And you guys are unbelievably amazing for what you've done with the creation of the 11-day power play. Of course, your battle and win against breast cancer. I guess to summarize our conversation, number one, if you're a lady, check yourself, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure.
And number two, be part of the 11-day power play. It is an incredible, incredible event. And obviously with 11 days, gives you a lot of time to be part of it, whether you're volunteering or just attending, whether you know guys or girl or not. Make sure you get down to Riverworks at some point during that week and a half stay, cheer them on, root them on, support them. As I said, I know a lot of these guys personally. I've watched them train. I've watched them play. And boy, it gets to day 6, 7, 8. It's a drag. It's a grind. It's tough. And that's where their real fight, their real intestinal fortitude comes out. And boy, we should be super proud of all of these people. And of course, the people that are behind them, like you and your great staff that's been able to put this thing together. Incredibly happy for you and what you've accomplished personally. And of course, incredibly happy for your team and what you've accomplished through the 11-day power play. I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks, helping out, doing whatever I can at the event, whether it's daily or over a couple of days, whatever you need me for, come get me. Okay.
Oh, I got your number.
11daypowerplay.com, roswellpark.org, Camp Good Days, Oshai, and also Make-A-Wish, the beneficiaries of the 11-day power play. Aim, great to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks for all you do, Bill. Have a great day.
You too.